All right, you guys, Mr. Burns here with your video for lesson 3.1T, fractions, decimals, and percents. So in this unit, this unit's titled Percents and Probability. And in this first part, we're going to be talking about how fractions are related to decimals, how fractions are related to percents, how decimals are related to fractions, and how decimals are related to percents, and how percents are related to fractions and decimals. So these three different types of numbers are in some way, shape, or form related to each other. And there's a bunch of different ways you can convert one type of number to the other. So, and I'm going to explain this to you guys as we go along throughout this worksheet. I'm going to suggest you get out a piece of paper and do some work on a piece of scratch paper if you would like. If that allows you a little bit more room, then do that. If you can write small enough, if you can write small enough and use your do your scratch work on this paper, that's fine too. Make sure that you guys, please, for all that is bald and bearded, would you please circle your answer? Okay, numbers 1 through 9. The instructions are convert each fraction or mixed number to a decimal. All right, here we go with number 1. All right, one of the simplest ways you can take a fraction or mixed number and convert it to a decimal is to take the numerator and divide it by the denominator. So here we go, number 1. So to take 1/2, can change it into a mixed number, to a decimal. All you do is you take the numerator 1 and divide it by the denominator 2. Put the decimal point, after the 1 or after the number underneath the division sign, and add a 0. Okay, now at this point, it's just long division, right? So how many times will 2 go into 1? 2 won't go into 1, so you put a 0. 0 times 2, that's 0. Subtract those, you get 1, bring down the 0. How many times will 2 go into 10? 10 will go into 2 5 times. 5 times 2, is 10. Subtract those, you get 0. When your remainder is 0, you're done. And then what you want to do with your decimal is bring it up into your quotient, which is right there. All right, so 1/2 is the same as 0.5, or 5/10. Now the number on the outside, in this division problem is called your divisor. The number underneath the house is called your dividend. And the answer, that's kind of a funky looking D at the end of that. Dividend. And the answer to a division problem is called your quotient. Okay, so when you convert this fraction into a decimal, it's 0.5 or 5/10. Okay, number 2. Okay, so on this one, we're going to take the numerator 7. We're going to divide it by the denominator 10. Add a decimal point after the 7. Add a 0. Okay, 10 will go into 7. 0 times 10. 0 times 10 is 0. Subtract those, I get 7, bring down the 0. 10 will go into 70. How many times? 7. And then put the decimal point, bring it up into the quotient. 7 times 10 is 70. Subtract those, and I get 0. So guess what my final answer is? 0.7. Okay, number 3. Number 3 is an interesting one. Okay, on number 3, pro tip. So if you've got a mixed number like this, remember a mixed number is a combination of a whole number, which is 2. I don't know what that is, but so a mixed number is a combination of a whole number and a fraction. Okay, and when you're taking a mixed number and converting it into a decimal, don't worry about the whole number for right now. We're going to bring that into play when we get to the answer. So let's just take a look at the fraction part, which is 1/4. So we're going to take the numerator 1, and we're going to divide it by the denominator 4. Put our decimal, add our 0. How many times will 4 go into 0? How many times will 4 go into 1? It won't. So 1 times 4 0 times 4 is 0. Subtract those, I get 1. Bring down the 0. 4 will go into 10 2 times. 2 times 8, 4 is 8. Subtract those, I get 2. Well, my remainder isn't 0 yet, so let's go ahead and add another 0. Okay, underneath the division sign there. Bring it down. 20. 4 will go into 20 5 times. 5 times 4, okay, is 20. Subtract those, I get 0. So when my remainder is 0, I'm done, okay, converting my mixed number into a decimal. And then don't forget to bring the decimal up into the quotient. So my whole number is 2. So when you're writing the decimal, my whole number is 2. My decimal point, go and put the decimal point, and then add the decimal after that. So 2.25. And that's my final answer. Okay, number 4. Okay, on number 4, you've got 3/4. So here we go. We're going to take the numerator 3, divide it by the denominator 4. Go ahead and put my decimal point, 0. Okay, and then I'm going to add, just for the heck of it, I'm going to add one more 0. Okay, all right, 4 will go into 3, 0 times 4 is 0. Subtract those, I get 3, bring down the 0. 4 will go into 30, 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. Subtract those, I get 2. Bring down the other 0. 4 will go into 20, 5 times. 5 times 4, 20. Subtract those, I get 0. And then go ahead and bring up the decimal point. So my final answer on number 4 is 3/4 is equal to 0.75, or 75 hundredths. Okay, number 5. On number 5, we've got 1/10. So we're going to take 1, divide it by 10, put my decimal point, add a 0. Let's add 2 of them just for the heck of it. Okay, 10 won't go into 1, so put a 0. 0 times 10, 0. Subtract those. 1 minus 0 is 1. Bring down the 0. 10 will go into 10 one time. 1 times 10, 10. Subtract those, I get a remainder of 0. Bring up the decimal point, and my final answer is 1/10 is the same thing as 0.1, or 1/10. Okay, number 6. So at this point, as you can see, we're running out of room, right? So you might want to do your work on a separate piece of scratch paper. You might want to take out another piece of paper, okay, and use it as scratch. But here we go, number 6. On number 6, we've got 4/5. So numerator 4, divided by denominator 5, put my decimal, add 2 zeros. Okay, 5 will not go into 4, so put a 0. 0 times 5, 0. Subtract those, I get 4. Bring down the 0. 5 will go into 48 times. 8 times 5 is 40. Subtract those, I get 0. Bring up the decimal point. Okay, and 4/5 is the same thing as 8/10. And let's go ahead and write that over here to the side. So 0.8 or 8/10. Okay, number 7. Okay, on number 7, I'm going to go ahead and write this over here. So I'm going to take 1, divided by 8, put my decimal point, and go add a couple zeros. 8 will go into 1, 0 times. 0 times 8, 0. Subtract those, I get 1. Bring down the 0. 8 will go into 10, 1 times. 1 times 8, 8. Subtract those, I get 2. Bring down the 0. 8 will go into 20, 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract those, I get 4. I don't have a remainder of 0 yet, so let's keep going. If you're running out of zeros, just add one more. Bring down another 0. 8 will go into 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. Subtract those. 40 minus 40 is 0. Okay, so now that my remainder is 0, I am done. So 1/8, don't forget the decimal. Bring up the decimal point and the quotient. So my final answer is 1/8 is the same thing as 125 thousandths. All right, on to number 8. Okay, number 8 is going to get kind of interesting. So here we go. Number 8, numerator 1 divided by denominator 3. Put the decimal point, add a couple zeros. Saying how many times will 3 go into 1? 3 will not go into 1, so 0. 0 times 3 is 0. Subtract those, I get 1. Bring down a 0. 3 will go into 10 how many times? 3 times. 3 times 3, 9. Subtract those. 10 minus 9 is 1. Bring down another 0. 3 will go into 10 how many times? 3. 3 times 3, 9. Subtract those. I get 1. Do you guys see a pattern emerging here? So it's going to bring the decimal point up into our quotient. So if you notice, it ends up 10 minus 9, 10 minus 9, 10 minus 9. So this is an example of a repeating decimal. And what digit is repeating? In this case, the 3 is repeating. So 1/3 is the same thing as 1 divided by 3, which is the same thing as when I rewrite it as a decimal, 0. What digit is repeating? 3. So we'll put a line over it. So that is your repeating decimal. So 1/3 is the same thing as 0.3 repeating. Okay, number 9. Okay, on number 9, we've got 1/5. Okay, so here we go. Numerator divided by denominator, add a decimal, and there's a couple zeros. So how many times will 5 go into 1? 5 will not go into 1, so put a 0. And then 0 times 5, so 0 times 5 is 0. All right, so put a 0. And then 1 minus 0 is 1, bring down a 0. 5 will go into 10 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract those, and I get a remainder of 0. Go and bring the decimal point up into the quotient. And my final answer is 1/5 is the same thing as 2/10. All right, number 10. All right, your instructions for numbers 10 through 18 says, convert each decimal to a fraction. So there's a couple different ways I'll try to explain to you guys how to convert decimals into fractions, but it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. So let's just dive right into it, shall we? All right, changing a decimal into a fraction does require the skill of recognizing the place value of your decimal. So on number 10, you've got 5/10. So let's take the number 5, that's the digit 5, okay? And we're going to rewrite this as a fraction. So that number is going to be in the numerator. So what number goes in the denominator? Well, the denominator is determined by the place value of the 5. In this case, since the 5 is in the tenths place, that's going to be the denominator. So 10 for tenths. And then at this point, all you got to do is reduce your fraction. So you have to find the greatest common factor of 5 and 10, or the biggest number that you can think of that will divide 5 and 10 evenly. So the biggest number that will divide 5 and 10 evenly is going to be 5. So it's going to be 5 divided by 5, and whatever I do to the top, I do to the bottom. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, and then 10 divided by 5 is 2. And when the numerator is 1, you're done reducing your fraction. On to number 10. On number 10, you've got 1/10. So take the digit 1, put that in your numerator, and the place value of the 1 is in the tenths place. So guess what? That's going to be what goes in the denominator is 10. And again, when your numerator is 1, you're done reducing. On to number 12. It's that simple. It's that easy. Okay, on number 12. On number 12, you've got the number, the digits, 75. So take it as a whole. That's 75. And what is the place value that the 5 is in? What place value is it in when you're talking decimals? It's in the hundredths place. So this is going to be the same thing as 75 hundredths. Now, what's the greatest common factor of 75 and 100? What's the biggest number that you can think of that will divide 75 and 100? In this case, think money. So 75 cents. 75 cents is how many quarters? That's 3. So here we go. So I'm going to divide 75 by 25. And then whatever I do to the numerator, I do to the denominator. Well, what in the world? What kind of a funky number is that? So 75 divided by 25. So how many quarters make up 75 cents? That's 3. In the denominator, how many quarters make up a dollar? 4. And again, if you're using a calculator, trust but verify. 75 divided by 25, 100 divided by 25, you should come up with 3/4. Okay, moving on to number 13. Okay, on number 13, you've got 2/10. So what's my digit? 2. What place value is it in the decimal? In the tenths place. At this point, greatest common factor of 2 and 10. The greatest common factor of 2 and 10 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And when the numerator is 1, you're done reducing. On to number 14. On number 14, you have the number 2 and 25/100ths. So since we have a whole number and a decimal, let's take care of the whole number 2 later on. So don't worry about that for right now. Let's take the decimal part, 0.25. So what are the digits? 25. And what is the place value that the 5 is in since it's the last digit? It's in the hundredths place. So this is the same thing as 25/100ths. And then let's go ahead and reduce this fraction. So what's the greatest common factor of 25 and 100? That's 25. So we're going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 25. 25 divided by 25 is 1, and 100 divided by 25 is 4. Now in my final answer, I'm going to incorporate the whole number back into it. So what's my whole number? 2. And then go ahead and add the fraction to the end. So 2 and 1/4. That is my final answer. Okay, on to number 15. All right, here we go on number 15. On number 15, we have 125 thousandths. So let's take those digits 1, 2, and 5. Oops. So 1, 2, and 5. And let's take a look at the last digit, 5. What is its place value? Well, if the 1 is in the tenths place, the 2 is in the hundredths place, and the 5 is in the thousandths place. So this is 125 thousandths. All right. What's the biggest number that you can think of that will divide 125 and 1,000 evenly? So this is where you're going to be doing some calculator work, right? So just for the heck of it, let's start off with 5. So when numbers end in either a 5 or a 0, guess what they are divisible by? 5. So let's go 125 divided by 5 and 1,000 divided by 5. Okay, so using your calculator, 125 divided by 5, I believe, is 25. And then 1,000 divided by 5, I believe, is 200. All right. And then what's the biggest number that you can think of that will divide 25 and 200 evenly? If you want to keep going with 5, we can do that. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. And 200 divided by 5, I believe, is 40. Can we reduce 5/40ths even farther? Let's try it. So what's the greatest common factor of 5 and 40? That's 5. So 5 divided by 5 and 40 divided by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 40 divided by 5 is 8, I believe. All right, that's it. Moving on. Number 16. All right, kids, here we go with number 16. Now, number 16 is going to be a bit funky, but I'll get you guys started. So number 16, you've got 3/10ths repeating. So this one's going to kind of, I'm going to cheat a little bit, take some shortcuts here. So we're going to take the digit 3. What place value is it in? Is in the tenths place. But since it is repeating, we're going to subtract 1 from the denominator. So we're actually going to convert this to 3, keep that digit the same, and then 10 minus 1 is 9. Again, this is a little bit of a funky explanation, but it does work in this case. Once we get to more digits and more numbers, we'll talk about that later. But for right now, 3/10ths repeating is this right here. All right, now what's the biggest number that will divide 3 and 9 evenly? Because we got to reduce that. So 3 divided by 3, and then 9 divided by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And make sure that looks a little bit neater. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. And that is our final answer. Okay, on to number 17. All right, here we are on number 17. So on number 17, we've got 8 tenths. So what's my digit? 8. What's its place value? It's in the tenths. And what's the greatest common factor of 8 and 10? The greatest common factor of 8 and 10 is 2. So we're going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. And when the difference between the numerator and the denominator is 1, you're done. On to number 18. This is a long video. Okay, on number 18, we've got 7 tenths. So what is my digit? 7. What's the place value? It is in the tenths place. And then what is the greatest common factor that will divide both 7 and 10 evenly? Let's see, will 1 divide into them? Yes. Will 2? 2, 4, 6, 8. Nope, 2 will not go into 7 evenly. 3, 3, 6, 9. Nope. Let's see, 4, 4, 8. 5, 10. No. 6, 6, 12. Nope, won't go in there. Let's see, will 7 go into 7? Yes, but will 7 go into 10? 7, 14. No. So guess what? When the greatest common factor is 1, you're done. So 1 will divide both the numerator and the denominator, 7 and 10, evenly. So guess what? You're done reducing. All right. I'm going to skip the part where it says check your work. Each answer from 10 through 18 should match a fraction in numbers 1 through 9. Don't worry about that. Let's jump on to number 19 and 20. Because like I said, this is kind of a long video. All right, on number 19 and 20, the instructions are write the shaded portion of each picture as a fraction and as a decimal. All right, so number 19, we've got our little rectangular, and it says number of rectangles shaded. Well, we've got 1 shaded. How many total numbers of rectangles are there that make up the big rectangle? There are 4. So what is my answer in terms of writing it as a fraction? That is 1 out of the 4, okay, is shaded. And if you want to write 1/4 as a decimal, just like you did before, you're going to take the numerator, 1, divide it by the denominator, 4. Put a decimal, add a couple zeros. Okay, 4 will go into 1, 0 times. 0 times 4 is 0. Subtract those, I get 1. Bring down the 0. How many times will 4 go into 10? 4 will go into 10 2 times. Okay, 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract those. So 10 minus 8 is 2. Bring down the 0. How many times will 4 go into 20? 4 will go into 25 times. 4 times 5 is 20. Subtract those and I get 0. So when my remainder is 0, I'm done. Don't forget to bring up the decimal into the quotient. And my final answer is 0.25 or 25 hundredths. Okay, on number 20. All right, on number 20. On this one, it says number of triangles that are shaded. So the number of triangles that are shaded are 2. How many total triangles make up this large hexagon? That's 2, 4, 6. And then it says, again, write it as a fraction. So we've got 2 out of the 6 triangles are shaded. So let's go ahead and take 2 6 and reduce that. What's the greatest common factor of 2 and 6? In other words, what number will divide 2 and 6 evenly? That's 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 2 6 is the same thing as 1/3. And that's my final answer, because it's reduced all the way. Now, as far as writing this as a decimal, you did this earlier, so we're going to go 1 divided by 3, put a decimal, put a couple zeros. Here we go. Will 3 go into 1? No. 0 times 3, so 0 times 3 is 0. Subtract those, I get 1. Bring down to 0. 3 will go into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract those. So 10 minus 9 is 1. Bring down the other 0. 3 will go into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. And just like it did earlier, we're starting to see a pattern emerge here. So 3 is actually going to be repeating itself. So bring the decimal up into the quotient. And my final answer is 1/3 is the same as 0.3 or 3/10 repeating. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the next page. Whew. All right, here we are on the second page, finally. Again, this is going to be kind of a long video. So yeah, it's going to take some time, and that's all right. So your instructions for numbers 21 through 26 are to write each percent as a fraction in simplest form, and then write each as a decimal. So we're going to write as the percent as a fraction in simplest form, and then we're going to convert it to a decimal. Well, let's talk about this word percent. Percent actually means per centum or per 100. So percent, so up there at the top. Okay, so percent. Okay, is the same as or equal to per 100 or per centum. What I'm going to go ahead and do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and zoom in for number 21 before we get into it too far. But just remember, percent means per 100 or out of 100. Okay, number 21, zooming in. All right, so number 21, you've got 50% or 50 out of 100. So you take the number 50 and you put that over 100. And then at this point, you just simplify it. So what's the biggest number that will go into both 50 and 100? Well, they both end in a 0, so guess what they're divisible by? 10. So you can start off with that. So go 50 divided by 10, 10 divided by 10. So 50 divided by 10 is 5. And 100 divided by 10, I don't know what in the world that is. That's 10. Is there another number that will divide both 5 and 10 evenly? Another number that will divide 5 and 10 evenly is 5. So 5 divided by 5, 10 divided by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Okay, and then 10 divided by 5 is 2. So that is the same as 50 100ths. Okay, as a decimal, it's pretty straightforward, it's pretty simple. So with the decimal, since we've got 50 hundredths, how many, we want to rewrite this, so as a numerator, 50, and how many zeros are there in the denominator, 100? There's 2. So what you can do at the decimal point is you can move it 2 spots to the left, and then add a 0 in front. That just helps you to differentiate where the decimal is. So 50 100ths is the same thing as 0.50, or 50 100ths. Okay, let's take a look at number 22. Okay, on number 22, we've got 25 100ths. So as a fraction, it's going to be 25 over 100. What's the greatest common factor for 25 and 100? So what's the biggest number that will divide 25 and 100? 25. So 25 divided by 25 is 1. And then 100 divided by 25 is 4. Use your calculator, trust but verify, and make sure that I'm right. Now as a decimal, let's rewrite this so it's 25 hundredths. Let's take the numerator, 25. And how many zeros are there in the number 100? There's 2. So I'm going to move my decimal 2 spots to the left from 5. So 1, 2. And then add a 0 in front of that to kind of help you tell where the decimal point goes exactly. So my final answer is 0.25. Okay, on to number 23. Okay, on number 23, we've got 10%. So as a fraction, take our digits, 10 per 100. What's the greatest common factor of 10 and 100? So what's the biggest number that will divide 10 and 100 evenly? That's 10. So 10 divided by 10 is 1, and 100 divided by 10 is 10. Now, as a decimal, same thing. So we're going to go 10 hundredths take the numerator, 10. How many zeros are in the number 100? There's 2. So I'm going to move my decimal 2 spots to the left. So 1, 2. There's my decimal now, and then put a 0 in the front. So my final answer is 0.10. Okay, on to number 24. Okay, so number 24, we've got 90%. So as a fraction, we've got 90. Make that a little bit thicker here. Sorry, guys. It's going to be 90 hundredths. Okay, so what's the greatest common factor of 90 and 100? So in other words, what's the biggest number that will divide 90 and 100 evenly? That's 10. So we're going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 10. 90 divided by 10 is 9. And 100 divided by 10 is 10. And when the difference between the numerator and the denominator is 1, so in other words, 9 and 10 are only 1 digit apart, guess what? You're done reducing. Okay, here we go. The decimal. So in the decimal, we're going to take the same thing. Okay, whoops, I don't know what's going on here. Hold on a second, let me get rid of that. Oops. So on this one, so the decimal, okay, as a decimal, I'm going to go 90 hundredths. Take my numerator 90. And how many zeros are in the number 100? 2. So I'm going to move the decimal 2 spots to the left. So 1, 2. And my final answer is 0.90. All right, on number 25. On number 25, you've got 15%. So as a fraction, you've got 15 over 100. Okay, what's the greatest common factor of 15 and 100? That's 5. So I'm going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 5. So 15 divided by 5 is 3. And 100 divided by 5 is 20. Okay, that's it. As a decimal, I'm going to take the original number, 15 hundredths. I'm going to take the numerator, which is 15. 2 zeros, two spots to the left, 1, 2. And my final answer is 0.15. Number 26. Okay, so number 26, we've got kind of a funky number. Because what's the highest percent you can get on anything, right? The highest percent you can get on anything is 100%. But since we have 150%, we're dealing with possibly a pretty big number. So here we go. So 150% is the same thing as 150 over 100. Now, what's the biggest number that will divide both 150 and 100 evenly? That's 10 to start with, right? So we're going to go... Actually, what about 50? Could 50 go into 150? There we go. Let's try 50. So 150, okay, 150 divided by 50. What is that? On your calculator, if you do that, it should be 3. And then if I go 100 divided by 50, 100 divided by 50 is 2. And when the difference between the numerator and the denominator is 1, you're done reducing. But what kind of a fraction is this? It's an improper fraction. So it can actually be reduced to a mixed number. All improper fractions can be reduced to a mixed number. So how many times will 2 go into the number 3? 2 will go into number 3 one whole time. What's my remainder? That's 1. And the denominator 2 stays the same. All right. As a decimal, okay, nothing new, nothing different. So here we go. So we're going to go 150 over 100. Okay, and then we're going to take the number in the numerator, 150. 2 zeros, two spots to the left. So 1, 2. And then my final answer is 1 and 5 tenths. And that's it. Okay, let's take a look at numbers 27 through 29. All right, so for numbers 27 through 29, it says write each decimal as a percent. So in order for you guys to change a decimal into a percent, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is multiply it by 100. Or move the decimal point 2 spots to the right. So here we go. So if I got number 27 and I go 0.75, if you multiply it by 100 on your calculator, you should come up with 75. And since this is a percent, it's going to be 75%. All right? Number 28. On number 28, you've got 5 100ths. So we're going to take that number. So 0.05. You're going to multiply it by 100, which moves the decimal 2 spots to the right. So I should come up with 5. And since this is out of 100, it's going to be 5%. Okay, on number 29, so we're just a touch. So number 29, we're going to take 0.2. We're going to multiply it by 100 to change it to a percent. Doing that moves the decimal 2 spots to the right. So I should come up with 20%. So there you have it. Not too hard. Okay, pretty simple. If you want to change a decimal and do a percent, move the decimal 2 spots to the right or multiply it by 100 on your calculator, and there you have it. Okay, moving on to numbers 30 through 32. So numbers 30 through 32, excuse me, my voice is kind of going out. So numbers 30 through 32, it says write each fraction as a percent. So the ideal, okay, what you want is you want to change your fraction into another fraction or convert it from one fraction to the other where the denominator is 100. After the denominator is 100, it's pretty straightforward, it's pretty simple. So number 30, our denominator is already 100, so guess what? You take the numerator, 50, and you write it with the percent sign at the end of it because it's already 50 out of 100. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. But let's take a look at number 31. On number 31, we've got 7/10, so we want to convert this fraction so that the denominator is 100. So what do I multiply 10 by to get 100? Well, let's try 10 times 10. So if I go 10 times 10, you should get 100. And whatever you do to the denominator, you have to do to the numerator. So 7 times 10. And what's 7 times 10? That's 70. So 70 out of 100 is the same thing as 70%. Got it? Okay, on to number 32. All right, here we are, number 32, 1/4. So again, we have to convert this fraction so that it has a denominator of 100. So 4 times what is 100? 25, let's try that. So on your calculator, go 4 times 25. You should come up with 100. And then whatever we multiply to the denominator, we also have to multiply to the numerator. Okay, and then 1 times 25 is 25. So 25 out of 100 is the same thing as 25%. Okay, number 33. Last one. Okay, on number 33, it says Isaac read that 30% of people own dogs. So it says what fraction of people own dogs? So let's start. So we got 30 out of 100. So 30% own dogs. Okay. If we wanted to reduce this, what's the greatest common factor of 30 and 100? That would be 10. And 30 divided by 10 is 3. And then 100 divided by 10 is 10. And since we divided by the greatest common factor, we are done reducing. So then it says what decimal of people own dogs? Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So if we go 30 out of 100, okay, and we take the numerator, since the denominator is already 100, we take the numerator 30, and we're going to take the decimal and move it 2 spots to the left because we have 2 zeros, okay, in the denominator. So 1, 2. So my final answer is 0.30. All right, long video, guys, really long video. Sorry for that, but sometimes that's how it goes with these videos. So if you have any questions, make sure you ask. I'll be more than happy to confuse you as best as I possibly can. But that's all I got. Mr. Burns, out.